Today we're making baklava. Baklava is a toast dessert which consists of thin layers of pastry with a nut mixture filling covered in sugar syrup. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, now before you start cooking, make sure you preheat your oven to 160 degrees Celsius. Alright, so first we're going to make the sugar syrup. To start with, I've got 3/4 cup of water in this pot, and I've got the heat on high. To it, I'm going to add 1 cup of castor sugar, a 1/3 cup of honey, a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 4 strips of lemon zest, 5 cloves and 2 crushed cardamom pods. And just to give it a bit of extra flavour, 1 teaspoon of rose water. Right. So continue stirring this on a high heat until it hits boiling. So as you can see, the mixture is now boiling and the sugar has dissolved. So what I'm going to do is turn it down to a medium heat and continue stirring for 3 minutes. Okay, so now that the sugar syrup is finished, I've left that to the side of the stove to cool down. We're going to start the nut mixture. So to start with, we need 500 grams of nuts. So what I've got here is 300 grams of cashews, 100 grams of honey cashews, and 100 grams of almonds. So to that we're going to add 1/3 cup of castor sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. So we're just going to combine that. Easy. And that's the nut mixture finished. Now we're going to move over to the pastry. So the pastry we're going to be using is paper thin Filo pastry. Alright, we need 28 layers of this to make the baklava. So to get the shape, what we do is we put the tray onto the pastry and we just cut around the tray. There's our marking. So now we just need to cut out 28 layers that big. Alright, so now we're going to put it all together. So what I've got here is just about 100 grams of melted butter. So we're going to put some down on the bottom first. Now usually you'd use a brush for this, but if you don't have one, I'm just using a spoon. Alright, first sheet. Alright, and we butter that. So butter needs to go between all the layers of pastry. Alright, next one. So on this first level we put down 7 layers of pastry. Alright, so I put down my 7 layers of pastry. Now what I'm going to do is just put a bit more butter on this top layer. Okay, now I'm going to spoon onto this 1/4 of the nut mixture. Alright, then we're going to put down 6 layers of pastry. So make sure you put some butter on top of these nuts here for the first layer of pastry to stick. And just put it on like so. So this time we're putting 6 layers of pastry. Alright, so I've put down those 6 layers of pastry. Now I'm just going to put a bit more butter on. Alright, and another 1/4 of the nut mixture. Alright, bit of butter on top of that. And we're going to put another 6 layers of pastry on. So I put down those 6 layers. Now I'm just going to put some more butter on top of this. Alright, now I'm going to put the rest of the nut mixture on top of this. Alright, now we're going to put 9 layers of pastry on top of this one. Alright, so that's that 9 layers of pastry done. So what I'm going to do now is just press it down a bit, just so it's all nice and compacted. Just all around. Alright, now with the remaining butter, just a bit of it left, just going to put that on top. And the last thing we're going to do, before we put it in the oven, we have to score it. That way, when it takes out of the oven, it's already ready to cut, and when we pour the sugar syrup over, it can easily seep into the cracks. So what we're going to do, so it's easy to score, is we're going to put it in the freezer for 10 minutes. Alright, so it's been in the freezer for 10 minutes, so now I'm just going to score it just halfway down. Alright, now across this way. Just so we get some cool looking pieces. Alright, now we put this in the oven at 160 degrees for 35 minutes. Now just on a brief note while that's cooking, you can use any nuts you like in this recipe. They don't necessarily have to be cashews or almonds. You could use anything from macadamias to walnuts even. One nut I wouldn't suggest though is peanuts, because they can really detract from the flavour of this dish. Also, instead of using lemon in the sugar syrup, you can use any other citrus. Anything from orange, grapefruit, or lime even. Anything to suit your unique flavour. Anyway, I think that's just about ready. Let's go check it out, shall we? Alright, there's the oven bell. Let's take it out. Here we are. Okay, now the first thing we need to do while it's hot is we need to pour the sugar syrup straight on. Let's get that done. Just pour it nicely over evenly. Alright, now we need to leave that to sit here until all that syrup has been soaked up. Now that could take up to 2 hours, so we'll check back on that later. So there you have it, my take on Turkish baklava.